Long ago in the kingdom of Persia, there lived a very poor woodcutter named Ali Baba. He had the greatest difficulty in feeding his wife, his son, and his thin little donkey, who used to carry his logs. Now one day, just as he was crossing the forest with his donkey, loaded with logs, he heard a fearful galloping approaching.
These savages are almost upon us. Hide in the thicket, my friend, and don't move. I shall climb this tree and see what happens.
Installed between two forked branches of the tree, Ali Baba saw a large number of horsemen galloping towards him. They were armed with axes and scimitars, and their eyes were glistening. The lower parts of their faces were covered by large silk scarves.
Definitely. There are 2, 4, 8, 17, 18, 23, 30, 40 of them. And those great swollen leather bags they are carrying must contain the spoils of their latest robbery.
In the meantime, the horsemen had reached an immense boulder just opposite the tree where the poor woodcutter was hidden. They stopped there, and their chief, standing up in his stirrups, shouted loudly,
"Open SESAME!"
The rock then parted in two as if by magic, revealing what seemed to Ali Baba to be an enormous cave in the side of a hill. The thieves went in, one after another, which gave Ali Baba the chance to count them again and check that there really were 40. The last of them had scarcely got inside the cave with his loaded bag, and the first of them came out again with his bag empty and got back onto his horse. When they were all on horseback again, the leader shouted,
"Close SESAME!"
The rock then resumed its normal appearance, and the 40 thieves set off, disappearing beyond the horizon in less time than it takes to tell.
Goodness knows where they are off to now, or for that matter when they will return. But I ought to have time to examine this rock more closely.
He got down from the tree and approached the boulder. But he could not see the slightest sign of a crack. Then he shouted the same words that he had heard the chief of the robbers use.
"Open SESAME!"
The rock parted in the middle, and Ali Baba went down into the cave. The wealth he saw made him gape until his eyes were as big as saucers.
This can't be true. I must be dreaming. There can't be this much wealth in the whole world. Golden crowns, silken scarves embroidered with silver, diamond-studded swords, chests crammed with jewels, precious vases, and this sand. No, it's gold dust. Oh, there are so many things here. The thieves wouldn't notice if I took just a little for myself.
He spread his old coat on the ground and tied up the corners to make a sling bag. Then he filled it with jewels, pieces of silver, and gold dust. He left quickly, loading his precious find onto the back of his donkey and covering it with logs so that no one would notice. And then...
Good heavens, I nearly forgot.
Close Sesame!
When Ali Baba returned home, he was so excited that he wanted to know immediately the extent of his new wealth. He called to his wife.
My dear, run, I beg you, to my brother Qasim and borrow from his wife a corn measure. This brother of mine has never helped us when we were in need, although he has always been quite well off. But don't tell him anything about what has happened. Just borrow the measure, that's all.
But Ali Baba's wife could not prevent her sister-in-law becoming suspicious.
My brother-in-law's a woodcutter, not a corn merchant. What can he want this measure for? I'll put a little grease at the bottom of the pot. By this means we shall soon discover what he wants to measure.
And so when Ali Baba's wife returned the measure, some gold dust remained stuck to the bottom of it. Qasim's wife ran to her husband.
You see, I told you so. Now we've got proof. Your brother spends his days pleading poverty and his nights measuring out his gold. You go round to him and tell him what you think of such hypocrisy.
I'm going right away. Why, it's possible that this traitor is richer than me.
Qasim arrived at Ali Baba's house just as he was leveling over the soil in his kitchen floor, the place where he had hidden his treasure.
Ali Baba, what are you hiding there?
What, me? Hiding something? Not at all.
You wouldn't lie to your elder brother, would you? Come on now, tell me everything. Otherwise, I shall tell the magistrates at the Caliph's palace and they'll send soldiers to search your house.
Well, it was like this.
Ali Baba told his brother all about his remarkable adventure, begging him not to tell a soul. For if the robbers suspected their secret were known, they would come and kill anyone concerned.
All I want is my fair share of this enormous wealth. I'll go there tomorrow morning with 10 donkeys.
Oh, be careful, Qasim. 10 donkeys? You'll be seen. That's too much.
Thanks for the advice, little brother. Good night.
The following day, Kasim went to the cave. He hid his 10 donkeys beneath the trees and waited for the thieves to come out and mount their horses. Then the chief shouted,
Close Sesame!
All the band went off at a mighty gallop, making a noise like thunder. Then Kasim went up to the rock and shouted,
Open Sesame!
He entered the cave, his heart beating. As a precaution, and so that he wouldn't be disturbed in his work, he commanded,
Close Sesame!
and the great rock closed up. Kasim started to collect up crowns, jewels, pearl belts, fine golden vases, and all he could get into the 10 large sacks that he had brought with him.
I shall be the richest man in all Persia. But now I must be off. All I must do now is to load up my donkeys and get back to town before nightfall. Oh dear. Now I've forgotten the password. Now don't get upset, Kasim. I know it's open something. Oh, but open what? Open boulder. Open mountain. Open cave. No, it isn't that. It's the name of some kind of grain or vegetable. Open oats. No. Open wheat. No, not that either. Open bean. Open potato. Open pumpkin. Open peas. Open lettuce. Open cucumber. Open artichoke. Oh, please open tomato. Aubergine. Buckwheat. Sunflower. Oh dear. I just don't seem able to get it.
He groped around for hours. He just couldn't remember. And then, just as he had it on the tip of his tongue, he heard outside the voice of the chief of the robbers. The thieves came into the cave where they found the unhappy Kasim scared to death. They soon finished him off with saber strokes. Then they cut him up in little pieces and threw them outside the cave for the jackals and vultures.